Hi, everyone. This is Rejoice on the Umatta Consultant podcast. Today, we have the special privilege of speaking with Ekta. She is the co-founder and editor-in-chief at Amazing Workplaces. Now, love for her to introduce herself, and we'll dive right into the questions. The mic is yours, Ekta.
Thank you, Rejoice. Thank you so much for having me, here. Like we spoke on the uh, warm-up call that we had. I'm supposed to be the first Indian guest on your show, and I think that's a great privilege to have. Thank you so much once again. About my introduction, I am Ekta, like you mentioned, Ekta Kapoor from Amazing Workplaces. I'm co-founder of Amazing Workplaces, and Amazing Workplaces is employer branding, content and media platform. Plus, it's a organization that actually helps other organizations to enhance their best practices by assessing their best practices, and helping them in improving those best practices through cultures, first doing employee satisfaction surveys with them and then consulting them on the various areas where we see certain gaps. Apart from that, we also help them in employer brand themselves through our content and media platform for human resources, which includes not just our website, but our YouTube channel, our social media handles, etc. So yes, that's about Amazing Workplaces and me.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And going along with that, we'd like to learn more about if you can share your story about your journey and what inspired you to co-found Amazing Places.
Yeah, thanks, Rejoice, for asking that question. So, Amazing Workplaces is something which is very, very close to my heart. And when I say that, I really mean it because when we started Amazing Workplaces, it was not something which came as a bang. Oh, wow, we are starting something like Amazing Workplaces, which is, where we'll do this, we'll do that. Nothing of that sort. It was a very subtle start that we had. And the reason why we started it was that me and my co-founder Shreyasi, we both wanted to understand what is it that certain organizations do differently in their, workplaces, which other organizations need to learn from and understand from, and create organizations which are highly robust and highly productive in nature. So we started our journey like that. It's you can say this was the foundation stone of Amazing Workplaces. And when we started this journey, the first step that we took was we created our website and we started talking to uh, people in the corporate world. We wanted to understand what is it that makes these kind of workplaces, what is it that leaders do differently in their organization, which can help create amazing workplaces. So when we spoke to these leaders, and when I say leaders, we were not just speaking to people in India, we were talking to people all across the globe, and these people were CHROs, they were heads of organizations, people in leadership positions, coaches, consultants, in this management space, even authors. We have spoken to a lot of authors, and business owners in the space of, say, data analytics and people management or employer branding space, a recruitment space, all of that we have spoken to. And when we spoke to them, we actually collected a lot of data. Okay. And on the basis of that data, we kept on building amazing workplaces step by step. And yes, as we unfold other questions, I'm sure I'll be able to, answer the remaining stuff for you.
Amazing, amazing. I love the fact that it was a global effort. You expand the amount of people you are talking to get more data and information. How does Amazing Workplaces aim to achieve, and what as the platform evolve over time? What are they looking to achieve?
Yeah, so good question. So basically, Rejoice, what we plan to do is, like I told you, the first step that we took was to understand the best practices, yeah, in people management. And we did this through our initiative of talking to people. We are still talking to people. We do a lot of podcasts, we do a lot of interviews where we connect with people and still understand those things. Besides, we do a lot of related content about best practices of organizations across the globe on our platform. So the idea is to write about best practices on our platform so that other leaders and other organizations, and not just organizations and leaders, even employees for that matter, can come to the platform, understand these best practices, see how they can, kind of implement in their organization. So, for example, if I may say, there was an organization, it's called the Lemon Tree Hotels, okay? And very early in our stage, we spoke to them and we realized that, they were doing phenomenal work in the space of diversity. And they, as a purpose for their organization, they had defined diversity in a manner where it was not a CSR effort for them. It
Okay.
was something which was actually, a business, which made business sense for them. And what Lemon Tree Hotels does, and today they have more than, 60, 70 hotels all across India and even abroad. And what they do is that they hire uh, people with Down syndrome, people from the economically backward regions, all those kind of things they do. And primarily the focused work that their team, their people culture team and their trainers team does with people with Down syndrome. Once you visit that hotel, you will come to understand the level of commitment that this organization has towards trying to bring that area, that part of the community and making them independent. Okay. So this is the kind of, these are the kind of stories that we love putting on our platform so that other people can learn from it and understand it.
I love that. I love that. And what strikes me the most is the ability for employees to also have access, not just the leaders. So as editor in chief, how do you shape the narrative around workplace culture and leadership?
Like I mentioned to you, this is something I'm very passionate about. And because this comes from within, uh, we try to bring out stories which are unique. We tend to bring out stories where, people can actually connect. So the stories that we bring about are from a leadership perspective, because you see, if the leader in an organization is not does not have the vision, yeah, to create such a workplace, they will never implement those kind of best practices. Okay. So authenticity of any story is very important for us. Okay. Originality of content is very important for us. Uniqueness, originality as well as uniqueness is important for us. And that is exactly what we put on our websites. So when people come and, absorb that content on our website, they're actually able to relate to it. They're actually able to find it interesting. It's not just, the regular pieces of L&D and diversity and culture. We go beyond that. We try to create unique stories, try to put unique stories, not create. And like for example, there's a company called 10 Pines. It's an Argentina based company, and what they do is that they have defined their organization as, there's a section called roots, and most of the employees are part of that roots, are they are called roots, and the employees are called pines. So uh, when I say most of the employees, which means that, only the new employees who are not still imbibed into the culture, they are not part of it. But Roots is the core, you know, core uh, team which is actually taking part in decision making of that organization, and most employees are there, okay, except for the new employees. That means that the decision making capacity is in that power is in the hands of all the employees. Now imagine the kind of organization this is and the kind of impact they are creating within the organization as well outside the organization as well. When people learn about these kind of things, how much impact they can create in their own organization if they try to understand how this works and how they can follow it in their own organization. Now, this particular company has actually been able to control its turnover rate, which is fairly high. So, where the rate is absolute, because it's a software organization, generally the rates are around 25 to 30% the turnover rates. But this particular company is able to control it and put it at pin it down to say 5% or something. Okay, so think about it. This is such an impactful thing in the area of business. Now, when you understand these kind of theories, when you understand these kind of stories, how much more impact you can create in your own organization. So that's something. So those are the things which, as an editor in chief, I feel it's my responsibility to dig these stories, understand the authenticity of them, and then put it on our platform. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that transformation that they were able to make at the workplace. If you were to help us understand key elements that define amazing workplaces, what would that be?
When we studied the cultures and the best practices of organizations, we collected a lot of data. Okay, and this data, when we studied this data, when our experts studied this data, we designed and devise the 9 pillar framework out of this data. And this 9 pillar framework is actually the soul of people management best practices that any organization which actually wants to become amazing can implement in their own organizations, and they can ensure that they are able to create that kind of an organization for their people. So, the pillars that we have identified are culture, talent acquisition, leadership, uh, compensation and benefits, employee engagement, learning and development, diversity, equity, inclusion, compliances, and CSR. And we have defined the best practices under each of these pillars so that an organization can actually understand these best practices, and depending upon the stage of the organization, where, because there would be certain best practices that are applicable for smaller organization, and there are startups primarily, and then there would be certain practices which are applicable to mid-level organizations where you have actually spent a few years and you have a team of 150 people. There you would be implementing certain additional best practices, and so on and so forth. And when you implement these best practices, you can ensure that in a very systematic manner, you can actually create amazing workplaces for yourself. So when you say what are the elements of amazing workplaces, these 9 elements are key, and the best practices under those elements, under those pillars, as we call it, are the key to creating amazing workplaces. Can I take?
Okay, awesome. So, going along with that, how has the concept of thriving workplaces and cultures in the recent years been talked about, especially after the pandemic?
Rejoice, actually, we have all gone through that pandemic stage, and most of the work that we did for amazing workplaces development was during that stage. And what we saw was that when we started our journey, there were physical workplaces, and we were talking to, going in person, talking to leaders and all of that. And slowly things changed, and people were confined to their own spaces, and they became comfortable in that space. Okay. uh, Even we realize that a lot of time we actually enjoy working in the vicinity of the house. And sometimes, you become more productive also in that space, and there's so much more that you can achieve. And then the pandemic, slowly the effect of the pandemic reduced, and things started changing. People started going back to the office. Some were really excited to go, but there were others who felt that they were better off when they were working from home, because again, they were able to accomplish so much more. They were able to give time to their uh, families. They were able to work with their children, help their children also, and be caregivers as well. And another thing which also was noticed was that people suddenly realized that they were spending too much time commuting, okay, especially in the larger cities where a lot of traffic is there on the roads. Literally, even in India, if from my place I have to go to the main business center, which is Gurgaon here, I have to actually literally spend between 2 to 2.5 hours on one side. Now, tell me one thing: how productive can a person be when they're, 2.5 hours you're actually struggling on the roads driving? How uh, how energetic can you be when you arrive at the office? And I think that's a very practical problem with most of the cities, with the increasing traffic and everything, not just in India but also abroad. So these are the practical issues which actually came up. Therefore, when we design today's workplaces, when we talk about amazing workplaces today, what we realize is that giving flexibility, okay, to employees is very, very important.
Mm.
You have a good employee, they are very productive, but at the same time, the kind of productivity that comes from them comes more from when they are either working in hybrid model or they are working doing remote work or work from home. So you have to understand, as a leader, as a manager, as a business owner, you have to understand that this is the practical issue, okay. And a leader should be understanding and empathetic enough to understand how to manage, this entire the system in their office. And they have to understand who are the employees who are happy working from office. Maybe they stay close in the vicinity, or they do not have such responsibilities, they like coming to office. And there is a set of people who are actually happy working from home. Now,
Yes.
when you understand this and you create a balanced approach, okay, when you have a balanced approach and a flexible approach, this will actually help you create better workplaces because it is a people friendly approach, okay. The second thing that I personally believe is that you have to maintain a lot of diversity today in terms of, again, remote, hybrid, and work from office, okay. That's another diversity which you have to actually take care of. And apart from that, the diversity also needs to be in areas of the age group of the people, because you see there's a lot of noise about how people are finding it difficult to retain Gen Z's. Yeah. And there's a problem with the understanding. So there has to be a proper mix of the age groups of people, so
Mhm.
that while you bring in the fresh energy and innovation and that scientific and technical know-how from the younger generation, you are still working with people who have that stability of being in a workplace for maybe more years than just a kind of 1 year or 2 year. So they know that stability, they have that understanding, uh, and they have a more balanced approach, right? And when you bring that kind of diversity in that organization, it will actually impact the overall productivity and output of your organization, as well as the stability of the organization. So though that is another thing. The third thing which I would like to point out is, when you're building amazing workplaces for you, trust is very important. Now, with people working remotely, you have to trust people, and trust is a two-way street, okay. So you have to give trust, and you have to get the trust in return. So, and as leaders, as managers, you have to first learn to trust people, and then get back that trust in return. You can't wait for the person to prove themselves and then you start trusting them, okay. So
Exactly.
first thing, you have to trust, right? So trust is very important. Micromanaging employees. Today, employees do not like to be micromanaged because, uh, unless it's a kind of a role where that 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 kind of a thing is there, where then employee is supposed to, uh, answer to is responsible to answer or take calls or do certain work at a particular time. Unless that case is there, employees need that flexibility of time, so don't micromanage too much. Ensure that if they are working remotely, they have other staff. So I was recently talking to somebody and a leader, and they said ki, gone are the days when you actually have to uh, you know take keep one second, I'll just repeat that. So I was recently talking to a leader, and they mentioned that today it is very important that when a person is working remotely, you have to understand that they may be having their lunch at an hour, or they might be feeding their baby at a particular time. And if they are not able to attend a meeting, and they are asking you for some other hour, it's not that they're wasting and whiling away their time, or they're taking rest or anything. It's just that you have to understand that the kind of responsibilities that they have are now divided. Their attention is divided. But still, if the productivity is not going down, if they're still able to deliver, you do not need to micromanage, because that is not going to give you the results that you want. Okay, it will actually one sooner or later it will just show away the employee, and they might just find other replacement for the job. Yeah. So those are the three areas where I feel diversity in terms of age, yeah, is very important today. And remote and hybrid and work from office, and flexibility is important, and trust is very important. These are the three things.
Awesome, awesome, amazing. I agree with all of those things. As we're seeing new folks coming into the workforce, they're asking for more things, and
Yeah.
their energy of asking is also increasing as well. So, in terms of one piece of advice you would give to business leaders looking to improve workplaces, what would that be?
Comes to improving the workplace, the trends that we just spoke about, those are very important. Those three trends of building trust, of giving flexibility and autonomy, and then building diversity in the workplace. Okay, so those three things are very important. Apart from that, one very important thing is that leaders need to walk the talk. Okay, and any kind of good culture, if you see, it actually stems from the top. No culture can be built bottom upwards. It has to be built top down. And therefore, the leadership of the organization is very, very important. If we actually see organizations failing, we have to look at the top, and we see that the leader was toxic, or the leader did not have that kind of a vision to create, an organization which was people friendly. And that is why the, organization uh, came down, So that is very important. And when I say walking the talk for leadership, uh, if you see, I'll give you a small example that as a leader, when you are doing something wrong, yeah, or you're doing something right, your people are actually looking at you. Yeah. They're learning from you every day. So if you're kind of overcommitting to someone, when you know that, this commitment is not practical, your team is also looking at you. And when they have to take such a decision, or when they are committing to somebody, they will think that it is right to overcommit, and then not live up to that expectation. And similarly, the people who are working below them, they will also feel the same. So now you're creating a chain of people who are looking up to each other and learning the wrong things. Similarly, if on the other hand, okay, you are creating a example, you're setting an example where, supposing there's some task to be accomplished, and your subordinate says that I cannot do it, okay, or it cannot be done, and you say, no, let me kind of show you how it is done, and you jump into the battlefield, and you uh, show to that employee how this task can be done. You are setting an example of a very strong foundation, because when tomorrow they face the same kind of a resistance from their juniors, they will be the ones who will be jumping, and showing, okay, let me show you how it is done, because that is what we learn from you, and that is what leadership is all about. Leadership is not about just those big jargons or talking big. You have to actually show uh, the people who are actually looking up to you. You have to show them how things are done. You have to show them what is acceptable as a behavior in your organization, whether it is empathetic behavior, whether it is kindness, whether it is trust. You show it and then they follow through. Okay.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Great answer. Thank you so much, Etha, for being part of our podcast today. How can our listeners connect with you and learn more about amazing workplaces?
So Rejoice, anybody who wants to connect with me, I'm there on LinkedIn, and they can definitely message me, send me a DM on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody who's out there wanting to, learn more about amazing workplaces, our 9 pillars, and how we build cultures, great cultures.
Awesome. Awesome. One great culture at a time. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here.
Thank you, Rajais. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I think it was a very pleasant conversation, short and crisp conversation that we had. I really enjoyed myself. And like I told you, this is my passion area. And I really love talking about, these things about culture and workplaces and how we can build amazing workplaces for more people. Yeah. Thank you so much once again.
You're welcome. Take care.